Raleigh, you've exhorted us, you've inspired us to lean into the task, the vision, the mission of building intergenerational experiences for our young people, multi-generational communities of faith and bodies of Christ. But that's going to raise in everybody's question who has tried and found it difficult. What are the concrete steps? What does it look like? How do you get from here to there?
Well, it's not easy. And in part it's not easy because in our everyday lives, we don't have much practice. So often the generations are separated from one another and are in fact used to living with their peers, their particular generation. And so at the outset, it's going to take some thinking outside the box, and it's going to take some time in terms of leaning into what this kind of life, this intergenerational life might look like. But the church, as the body of Christ, is a great place in which to learn and to practice. There are, in fact, theological understandings of who we are as the people of God that are inherently intergenerational. If, in fact, the body includes everyone, and if, in fact, each one is given a gift by the Spirit to participate in this larger body, for each generation to help each other discover their gifts, and on the basis of their individual gifts as a person of the generation in that particular generation, to not simply exercise those gifts for the sake of their peers, but to exercise those gifts on behalf of the whole. So, for example, worshiping community lives in many ways off its gifts of ministry. So for a minister of music to prayerfully and thoughtfully and intentionally work with the congregation to explore and identify the gifts of the Spirit that are poised to bring into the community the variety of gifts of music that are in the community, great many times, very often, those gifts of music reside in the young. And not just children's choirs. I mean, the voice of a children's choir in the larger worship service is powerful and profound. It's been worked to, in fact, a classical, if you will, artistic gift in many circles. But in fact, the capacities to play an instrument that young people have developed, whether they're in their early or late childhood years, but particularly as they become teenagers, can be brought together with adults in small ensembles and even in individual instrumental solos as they do this work. So for a congregation to tap the music ministry of the young and put that into the larger whole of the worshiping community is just a way to start thinking about using the gifts of the Spirit as a way of bringing the generations together in terms of each other's lives. Many congregations have, in fact, over a period of time, such as during Lent, have put a young person and a grandparent together around the concept of discovering each other's stories. Mm. And there are, if you will, protocols, so it's safe. They set up structure for the process. And then the narratives that are shared as story according to certain storylines. So people look at together some of the most meaningful moments in their lives, some of the most difficult times in their lives, the ways they come to experience and practice their life with God, their hobbies, and so forth. And so out of the sharing of each other's stories, they then begin to look at the stories of faith as they have both experienced them, including some of their struggles. As they do so, they take that into conversation to God, and so the elderly are teaching those who are younger how to pray, and those who are younger are opening up for the older many of the struggles, the notions, the ideas of faith and life that now the elder person can in fact become a mentor toward, or can in fact pray for and become a prayer warrior, a prayer mentor for them across time. Other ways in which this gets, I think, developed very profoundly is to take the very practices of the church themselves and put them together in ways in which the generations can work them. So if preaching is not simply evangelion or proclamation on the part of a pastor who's practiced, but also kerygma, witness, that is speaking to the reality of God at work in my life as a 13-year-old, as a 23-year-old, as a 43-year-old, as a 63-year-old. One can build into worship small moments of witness or bearing witness or speaking, if you will, to particular issues from the vantage point of a particular person of particular age, a particular generation. So the very practices of worship themselves, preaching, prayer, and so forth, can be done in such a way. One of the most powerful has been to do intergenerational service and mission trips, where rather than some adults taking a group of kids to do a particular mission trip, if one puts together carpenters of a variety of ages to take a group of teenagers to do Habitat for Humanity or to go build a school in Haiti. So now one's got 3 generations and their background and skills and capacities that work together. You not only get them working side by side in passing on skill and wisdom and so forth, but as one gathers at night and reflects on the day, develops worship services, these generations learn to pray and worship together as well. So in many ways, it's taking the practices of faith itself and imagining those practices being worked in such a way that the generations can be shoulder to shoulder as they go about carrying out those practices, and in so doing, bless each other's lives.